I'm John Fine, and I'm here with Michael Wolff. The subject, Katie Couric.
Or do we care about Katie Couric? Perhaps should be the subject. I don't care about Katie Couric. Do you?
Well, Michael, you kind of suggested that we talk about this. I was hoping you cared just a little bit. Do I personally care about Katie Couric? I'm sure that no matter what happens with Katie Couric will do fine. I think CBS has to care what happens with Katie Couric. They're paying her millions and millions of dollars to reinvent the nightly news broadcast and ...
Okay, well, maybe it's the broader question. Do they care about the nightly news?
Well, I think at this point, they have to care about the nightly news. They're spending a lot of money on that. Although if you're asking me that, you probably have a certain thought on it, so maybe we should hear it.
My thought is that nobody cares about the nightly news. Nobody cares about the network news. Nobody wants to be in the network news business, except perhaps whatever network is number one in the network news business. Now, the interesting thing is whether CBS ever thought that they could be number one with Katie. I mean, it's an extraordinary kind of television marketing
thing.
Imbroglio. I mean, here they have you. If you step back for 1 second, you then have to ask the obvious question. Does the audience, the evening news audience, would Katie Couric appeal to that audience? And I think everybody now is saying, yeah, probably not.
Well,
how did they get there?
I'm probably the wrong guy to talk to because I thought this was, in keeping with my generally powerful predictive powers, I thought this was a masterstroke. I thought it was going to be a huge success. I might have even believed, God help me, that it was going to bring in lots of younger viewers and reinvent the newscast. As always, you say a lot of things that are very provocative that I just, frankly, completely disagree with. The networks have to care about the nightly news. There's still millions of dollars coming from this. I mean, we may not, conceptually care about it. Someone has to care about it.
Well,
people are still watching.
Well, wait a minute.
Although granted, they're older than we are.
Even just on the economic basis, there are millions of dollars of this coming because it occurs at a good hour. If you put repeats of virtually anything, the same amount, actually probably more money would come in.
Well, then why don't they just get rid of it in that case?
Well,
if
that's
economic argument.
That is the issue. Why don't they? Because there would be one reason. There would be an enormous outcry. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to be on that end of the public relations spectrum.
Wasn't there like a hint that they were going to, that someone was going to, when they were going to get rid of Nightline, ABC was going to get rid of Nightline, and they were like kind of playing footsie with David Letterman, and people started freaking out.
Right, totally freaked out. I did many television moments on just that subject. This is. I mean, the evening news remains one of those hot button issues. It remains one of those kind of those tropes, those media tropes. The evening news is important. Now, the truth is, it's not important. It's not important from the network's economics. It's not important for the effect that it has on the commonweal. Mm-hmm. It's not important for maintaining this audience. It's not important for what it does to the television schedule.
Well, I mean, a nation weeps that you feel this way, obviously, or at least the nation of the 65 and ups that actually watch the evening news. I think that there's a bit more nuance here than you're giving credit. I mean, this thing still exists, and it still exists for something of a reason, and it's not just, fear of outcry.
I'll give you the nuance. I'm going to tell you what the nuance is.
What is the nuance?
The nuance is it's the only real branding device that the networks have.
Well, the morning shows are a branding device as well.
Yes.
And those make money.
And that's true. But this is even more than the morning shows. The evening news has been that branding thing, that person. Each of the networks has always had the person who's associated with, who carries that brand. Dan Rather carried the CBS brand.
And Walter and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
I was just at the network upfronts. I mean, you don't hear from these people.
And it's also the things that unites the affiliates. That's what the affiliates gather around.
So this is one of those great big network unifying principles, blah, 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 blah.
Right, and it came into being for lots of reasons. Now the question is...
Well, they had to. I mean, there was like a public interest thing, which, ha, 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 ha.
That's the news thing, but I mean in terms of the branding element, that this is the person who essentially represents the network. That came into being for a lot of reasons, and I think they'd like to get rid of it.
But, okay, if they would like to get rid of it, and it's cheaper to get rid of it, I feel that, like, this is a lovely, from 30,000 feet, pox on all their houses thing that we all know and expect from Michael Wolff. But I don't feel it's terribly grounded in reality. I mean, the morning news shows, if we can call them news, make an enormous amount of money. ABC, I think, is very happy with, Gibson taking over. The thing that I find interesting is that people apparently do want an old, wizened white guy reading them the headlines.
Well, because they are old, wizened white guys answering who are the audience here.
I mean, Katie's like too young and Aravisti.
I mean, and it's also, I think one of the things that we're seeing is nobody particularly likes change here. I mean, these people have been watching this show for 2-3 generations, and it has been functionally the same. Now, one of the things that happened here is that suddenly, they had the Dan Rather problem, and okay, we can do something different. And everyone is telling Les Moonves, do something original.
And by the way, if you don't, it's going to be 20 years before you can again, because
right.
That's how long these
do something original. And one of the things that happens when a lot of people shout at a guy who runs a big company, do something original, what they do is the least original thing they can possibly think of. So that's what happened. Okay, Les has to do something original. He has to do something original because everybody's saying
a white woman who's not really that old yet. Yes, that's
exactly. So suddenly you had, and that's that's why nobody seems to have done any market research on this. Mm-hmm. Nobody seems to have thought this through. Nobody seems to have said, hey, does this audience want something original?